A shocking, surreal event in Butler, Pennsylvania, as shots were fired at the former president and convicted felon, Donald Trump, killing one attendee and critically wounding two others. It was a bizarre but almost inevitable scene that has thrown the presidential race into chaos. And I say inevitable because Trump and his MAGA movement have been using the rhetoric of violence for years and increasing it more and more as of late, threatening everyone who gets in their way with the specter of the fringe minions of their movement carrying out acts of harassment and violence. Trump and his MAGA politicians have been packing a powder keg for years now, and it finally exploded yesterday in a manner no one really thought would happen, with a boomerang effect on Trump. The other thing that exploded, with no surprise, is social media, with the posts and the comments from government officials putting on full display what is wrong with our political system. And make no mistake about it, what's wrong with our political system is the Republican Party. Their slavish devotion to the gun lobby, their willingness to lie, their absolute unwillingness to take responsibility for anything, and their total immunity from hypocrisy. After the horrific mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School, Republicans finger wagged an outraged public not to politicize this tragedy. After the mass shooting at a high school in Parkland, Florida, Republicans finger wagged again and warned us not to politicize this tragedy, and then lectured us on how to make schools safer with locked doors and more active shooter drills. And then came the mass shooting at a school in Uvalde, Texas, where police complained they were outgunned and unable to attack. And once again, Republicans scolded us not to politicize this tragedy because they were too busy sending thoughts and prayers, and then moving on to advocating for arming our teachers in the nation's schools. Because in the history of this country, there has never been a teacher with mental illness. So why worry about arming them? But the lesson we hear over and over again ad nauseum from Republicans is not to politicize these shootings, which is why, with no sense of hypocrisy, the congressional representative from Georgia, Mike Collins, got onto Twitter faster than the Secret Service got on top of Trump so that he could blame the shooting on Biden. He posted, "The Republican district attorney in Butler, Pennsylvania should immediately file charges against Joseph R. Biden for inciting an assassination." Apparently, Collins is getting really tired of Marjorie Taylor Greene getting all the attention and was desperate to prove that he can go even lower than she can by saying stupid things designed to spark outrage but garner him attention. Then, sensing his opportunity to seize the vice presidential nomination, Never Trumper J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio, wrote, "The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. That rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination." Yes, JD, but I'm sure you'll be one of the first ones out there defending Trump's statements on January 6th as not causing an insurrection. But wait, crass political opportunity from a party who lectures us not to politicize tragedy did not end there. Utah Senator Mike Lee, and am I the only one who thinks starting a sentence with Utah Senator is the political equivalent of saying, "a man in Florida today"? I mean, you can just bet on crazy. And Mike Lee delivered, posting that we've got to take the political temperature down, as evidenced by what happened in Pennsylvania today. We call on President Biden to immediately order that all federal criminal charges against President Trump be dropped, and to ask the governors of New York and Georgia to do the same. So let's get this straight. Convicted felon and adjudicated rapist Donald Trump goes around the country pushing his hate-fueled white people are the victims agenda, spelled out more clearly in Project 2025, and it's now up to Biden to take the political temperature down? Yep, that's the Republican Party for you. Not one person taking responsibility. If you want to take the political temperature down, throw Trump's fat behind in jail where he belongs. But that wasn't enough for Lee. He went on to post, such a gesture would help heal wounds and allow Americans to take a deep breath and reflect on how we got here. Heal wounds and how we got here? That has to be the the penultimate statement of the decade. Right before the shots rang out at the rally, Trump was showing a chart about immigration. He was just starting to ratchet up in anti-immigrant fervor among his white rural followers. That is precisely how we got here, Senator Lee. So why don't you indeed follow your prescription and reflect on that? But owing to the standards of journalism to present both sides of the story, I have to critique the left for their over-politicization of this event. Biden, for example, went on the air and said this.
Now, I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody.
Vice President Harris also commented in an overly political manner, posting, I have been briefed on the shooting at former President Trump's event in Pennsylvania. Doug and I are relieved that he is not seriously injured. We are praying for him, his family, and all those who have been injured and impacted by this senseless shooting. We are grateful to the United States Secret Service, first responders, and local authorities for their immediate action. Violence such as this has no place in our nation. We must all condemn this abhorrent act and do our part to ensure that it does not lead to more violence. And then finally, political comments from the firebrand from the Bronx, AOC, who went hyper-political by posting this. There is no place for political violence, including the horrific incident we just witnessed in Pennsylvania. It is absolutely unacceptable and must be denounced in the strongest terms. My heart goes out to all the victims, and I wish the former president a speedy recovery. It is abundantly clear, based on these reactions, which party has the maturity and wisdom to lead, and which is a party of political opportunists willing to sell its soul to the highest bidder. And that's the choice we face in November. One final thought before I sign off. As a result of this horrific act of violence, one person is dead, and 2 others are critically wounded. And all Republican politicians can think about is how to turn this into Trump's advantage. So much for being the pro-life party. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.